What is up, guys? Holy camole, you guys. What is up? If you can give me a good thumbs up in the chat room so that I can know you hear this, you better be hearing this. I need some thumbs up before I do the announcement, because I got some amazing stuff going on, you guys, right now. And just let me know that you can hear me okay. I got Kelly, the video girl, in the background. Kelly, can you give me thumbs up? Does this sound okay? All right, UFO Story, Majestic Q Clearance, DJ, Urban Infidel. All right, you guys. I want you to get your Twitters out. I want you to get onto your Twitter account, because we've got a hashtag UFO Twitter girl in the house like nobody's business. Yes, it's true. We have a very cool guest on par with our previous guest who's going through some things. But you guys need to get ready, because this is going to be a wild ride. Okay, that being said, I'm going to bring in my tech girl, my producer, my lady with the plan all the time, all right? Here is Kelly, the video girl. What is up, Kelly? How's it going? Can you believe this is happening? Oh, mute, you're on mute, and yes.
All right, we're back.
Yes, we're back.
Yeah. I must say today was a roller coaster. That's for sure.
Oh my God, I'm glad you felt it. I felt like I was like, unless I'm hanging out with my 5D friends out there, man, my hashtag UFO Twitter friends, no one gets it. I'm alone on this lonely planet. Right, Kelly? Kelly was there for me, girl. All right, Kelly.
All day.
Kelly, yeah. Do you want to, for being a bestie girlfriend, do you want to tell everybody who's in the gray room waiting?
All right. Well, because, everyone was hoping for someone else, and due to unfortunate events, but somebody flew in, whooped up, came in to talk to us and wanted to fill in that spot. This person not only is one of my crushes, but just saying her name gives me my stomach. It feels like the little Tic Tac that's in my stomach bouncing around. That's so cheesy. I apologize. Okay, today we have the one and only Alex.
Yeah, that's right, you guys. You heard it. Alex Dietrich is in the gray room, okay? She's getting situated. We have her here. She is our star, and she just kind of like figured it out, But we always have our intro, right, Kelly? I can't believe it. Like, what a roller coaster, Kelly, and this is so much fun. I think you and I are both Alex fans like crazy. Like, I don't know any girl in the UFO girl community that I've talked to that isn't like all about Alex, right?
Everyone's just so proud. I'm so glad she came out, and UFO Twitter girls, and to have Alex here is nothing but an honor. So, and it was funny too, because I was talking about her today to a friend, talking about the phenomenon, trying to hook them in, and then all of a sudden you messaged me, and I'm like, well, if there's such thing as consciousness and putting out those good vibes, it happened today.
They totally did. All right, I'm gonna do some shout outs, man. We got Urban Infidel, good to see you. We have DJ San Marco says, my U.S. Navy homegirl, A. Dietrich. And we have even more cool stuff going on. But I'm going to get started with the intro. So I'm going to take you off, Kelly, and we're going to go straight into it because it's happening so fast. All right. And then I'm going to bring in Alex, right? I'm going to bring in Alex first. I'm going to hang with her for a little bit. And then Kelly, I'm going to bring you in as my wing girl, so we could just do this interview right. Kelly has a lot of experience, and so I'm really excited that she's going to back me on this. So I will see you in just a second, okay? All right. Here we go, you guys. Here we go. Give me a thumbs up. Can you hear that, Kelly? You got that, Kelly? Nice. Awesome. So does Alex. Alex got it. She's in the gray room. I'm not lying, you guys. I am not lying. Is it gonna happen? Too good to be true. I heard what you all said. So how did you get here? How in the heck of the YouTube algorithm did you manage to find yourself here? You guys all thought you were gonna get in jolly tonight, didn't you? No. We've got another badass babe in the chat, in the gray room. Another goddess from the planet of She. I know it's been hard for all you UFO boys out there, but it is a planet and we have a goddess. Yes, we do. Because you know what? We are broadcasting here live and alive in the middle of the desert, in the heart of alien country. One day, it's all gonna come out. The bodies, the craft, the documents. And they're gonna say that, they're gonna say that they always knew. And you can say, you know what? I knew too, because I was listening to Alien Girl 111. What is up, people? What is up, Mikey? You traveled from the future to get here? You should have, because Alex is here. Matthew Riot, good to see you. Ian Burwell, how you doing? Oh my gosh, we got Pink Tony Yas in the chat. Mr. DB Cooper, IR Film. I love you all so very much. Who would have thought? Area 503, dude. Always good to see you, my friend. Okay, so it's really happening, you guys. I want you to get out your Twitters. I need you to tweet this. We got Scott Brown in the chat. I know Scott's excited. Man, Scott's really excited. Okay, so I'm just gonna treat this as I would any other girls' night. We're gonna talk with Alex, but we're just gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna relax. Yes, Josh, Alex is here. It's the best Sunday ever. I know. Oh, yes, it is. It's the best Sunday ever. And we are also streaming on Twitter, on Twitch, on everywhere. Kingfish Kebab, always good to see you. Did I tell you Alex Dietrich is here? Oh, Rich Christie, thanks for the winky, man. And I'm just going to go for it. Oof, historian. Yes, you've been here since the beginning, man. Since the beginning. All right. I'm going to bring her in. Are you guys ready? I don't feel like the chat's ready. You guys are just kind of sending little heart emojis. Like, come on. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, Urban Infidel. The red carpet of UFO Twitter. Thank you. That's exactly what we're talking about. Yes. Zach Chichi. Hell yeah, Alien Girl 111. Dang right. Rachel gives me a fist pound. All right, guys, I'm going to bring it in then. All right. The one, the only, Alex Dietrich. Good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
I can, once I turn down the techno. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm well. This is very fun. I've never been a part of something so lively. Anderson Cooper didn't have an intro like that.
You were on Anderson Cooper. Oh, that's so much fun. And that's, I think, what's so fun about your involvement with like the hashtag UFO Twitter, because you inspire us, as much as it might not seem that way, but when you were on Anderson Cooper and you gave us a shout out, you're like, hashtag UFO Twitter friends. I showed everyone. I was like, look, that's us. That's us. Even though we're just a community of people, it's super validating when someone who's, doing the work, and pushing for it and being brave. Like, this is really about bravery and hanging out and having fun. You know what I mean?
Well, now I do. I had no idea before. not that I was actively hiding, but I was not really interested in going public because I was afraid of the kooks and the weirdos, and I just had no idea how much of a community, how much of a family this actually really is. And so it's certainly dysfunctional, as most families are in its own way, but it also, I mean, it has a lot of love. It has a lot of joy and fun and support for each other. And that's why I'm here today. So I was sorry to hear that your other guest fell through, and I hope that everything's okay with her. But I couldn't leave you hanging. So,
oh my gosh, I'm in love with you now. This happens all the time. You know, sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. But this is just one of those days where I get to hang out with you. So thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I totally feel you. Like the love that we have for our community is really intense, and we all feel so passionately. And you know, there's also this desire for all of us to kind of just unite a little bit more, right? To kind of just, we all kind of get a little bit passionate, which is great because it's an intense topic. But for you personally, like, how do you navigate through the intensity of this topic? Like in your, yeah, I mean, if I don't know however you want to answer that, but it's an intense topic. Hashtag UFO Twitter. All sorts of things, people falling in love, getting married, like breaking up and, you know, fighting. And it's an amazing little community.
Yeah, no, it is. It covers all of that. And I'm just sort of got swept up in it. Like I've said a few times before, you know, I don't identify as a UFO person, and I don't think about the Nimitz encounter unless somebody else brings it up. It wasn't a trauma in my life. I don't have PTSD or anything from it. But I do understand folks who are curious and who are interested or concerned about it. So what I've really enjoyed in these last few months, and it's only been a few months since the 60 Minutes piece aired at the end of May, I've enjoyed getting to know people. I've really enjoyed these spin-off topics like the art and the music and the ink, seeing everybody's tattoos, and so I'm really appreciating the humanity of it and understanding more about the phenomenon behind the phenomenon.
And I think that's what's so amazing about it is everybody's just trying to get to the truth. And you know, I mean, there's a lot to be said about the truth. Like, what is it about the truth? Why do we want the truth? We don't want to live in delusion. We don't want people to tell us that it's one way and it's actually the other way. And this goes for every level of your life, right? Yeah. And so, like, it's just so exciting to be here and to hang out with you. And I'm going to bring in Kelly because I know Kelly probably has some questions. We have some questions from the chat, but more people are just really excited that you're here. What's up, Kelly? How's it going?
I'm good. Can you tell I'm just fangirling out?
I know. I saw it. You were giving her the eyes, so I was like, it's time to bring her in.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I'm really, really glad, Alex, that you see the family and the community and everyone kind of coming together. Even today, I saw all these beautiful clouds in the sky, and I'm like, I'm going to take a picture of it. And I'm gonna, you know, like add Alex on it, and the other people add their clouds, and it's just that one moment that I don't know ties in your life. It's just very heartwarming. There's a lot of other crazies too, but we'll just focus on the good stuff. When did you realize how large your following? This is my question, but when did you realize how big or how large your following was as soon as you jumped on Twitter and then put in that UFO Twitter hashtag? And what was that like for you?
It was bizarre. So I'm naturally a very introverted person. That's just my natural personality. And we just came from a Labor Day outdoor picnic barbecue party thing, and I'm not a party person. I don't like to meet strangers, and I just sort of sit in the corner by myself.
This must be awesome for you right now then.
Like I said, you know, I once I can make the connection and I can see, you know, the good in people, then it feels really good. But making that first step is hard. And so, you know, the 60 Minutes piece, well, before that, when I agreed to do 60 Minutes, this was naive of me to think that I could just do one and be done. I thought, well, 60 Minutes is reputable and it has a broad audience. And so if I do that, then I don't have to do any other interviews and people will just leave me alone, which again, it was really naive of me to think.
Yeah.
But so it aired, and then I was just bombarded with media requests and folks really, cold calling my phone and all of my personal and my work email. And so I thought, well, what if I had a Facebook account, but it was small. It was just friends and family. And I said, well, what if I were to step out into this space of Twitter or social media where I could sort of meet people where they are, and then they might respect that personal boundary and not violate that personal space. And I had no idea what I was getting into. And then sort of counted up every day the followers, and then the getting tagged in conversations and threads, and just folks were so curious and asking really great questions, technical questions. And I thought, well, man, I wish somebody would ask me this 17 years ago.
Yes.
And so it's been a, like I said, a wild ride and very interesting.
Right.
Something that I now realize that rather than trying, not that I was actively trying to avoid it, but just I was like, no, that's not really part of my life. I realized that these are my people. And that's why when I saw, Amy, your sort of plea for help, I said, well, let me see, if I can step up and help out family, because that's kind of where I find
Gosh, I love you, Alex. You helped me out big time. I just stood up. I was having those memories of being at Roller King, and then he just didn't show up. And then the coolest guy ever showed up, and he was like, dance with me. And I had the best night ever. That's how I feel. So thank you so much for coming. It really made me happy, and we're having so much fun, and I know everybody in the chat is too. They're going nuts.
Yeah.
How did you decipher when you were getting on those phone calls? Because I can't imagine. So you're doing your own thing, you're living your life, you decide to, do one interview and be done with it, and then all of a sudden, your phone's blowing up. How did you pick and choose and kind of process that? Because just having a normal life and then everyone in the world wants a piece of you, that must be,
it was, I'm trying to, is the light better here? It's sunset where I am.
Yeah, it's great. You look fantastic.
Thank you. So it was honestly, it was a lot of it was random. So we were packing up, actually, when 60 Minutes, when the producer called me, we were packing up to make this move cross country. And I was literally standing in the middle of the house with all of these piles of boxes. All of my clothes were packed up, and 60 Minutes called and just started word blasting me about Marco Rubio and the COVID relief bill and this language to release this DOD report on UAPs. And I was like, dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he was like, well, do you want to come on national TV and talk about UFOs? And I was like, no, not really. What am I going to wear? All my clothes are
You looked fabulous.
Wait, did you do your own hair and makeup?
No, I didn't.
I was going to say, you did look really fabulous. And
thank you. I went to a salon that morning, and then went to the makeshift studio that they had set up, and it was all guys on the set. So they had,
obviously,
I don't know if they had 6 or 8 people plus the host or the person doing the interview who was on camera with us. But I walked in, I sat down, and the first thing they said was, well, your face is really shiny. You should have used more powder. And I was like, do you not have
what?
Powder?
They didn't catch her up?
Can you not help me out?
Don't tell me no.
So,
I saw the interview, and you looked great. You looked absolutely fabulous. So everybody's in love with you.
The naivety. If in the future, if I ever do something like that again, and friends have told me, well, you can just ask. One of the conditions that you say there has to be hair and makeup person on site or on set. So, so after that, we were moving. Our movers came. We were, loading up U-Haul and driving cross country. And so, and I have 3 small children, and I have 2 dogs, and I have a career. I did retire from the Navy, but I have a job now. And so it really boiled down to when people were able to get my attention. So, if I jump on Twitter or check my email in the 5 minutes between putting the kids to bed and, putting myself to bed, and there was somebody there, I would say, okay, yeah, I can do that. Or a couple of them would pile up and I would just miss them, or I'd say, oh, circle back in a few weeks or a few months. And so it was really kind of a game of, just like today, game of chance.
Well, it was a good move. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, it was great.
Yeah, divine timing. That's what I told him, Jolly. We were talking because, it's all about timing and life. This is life. Like, things happen, and it's just so fun. Like, here we are all hanging out, talking about it. And, I know, and it's amazing because here we are talking about how much interest in your voice, right? And you have so much interest in your voice that damn right they better have the hair and makeup girl ready. I'm sorry, I don't, but they need to, you know what I mean? So that being said, like, what's something you really want everyone to know? Just, that maybe you don't get asked enough, but maybe you want to tell people.
Yeah, well, so one of the reporters who did get a hold of me right after 60 Minutes aired was from National Geographic. And I said, oh, I think National Geographic would be a great platform to investigate the phenomenon behind the phenomenon. So wouldn't it be great if you got some expert sociologists and anthropologists and psychologists and economists, and you did, this big, I could even see one of their special issues, where they have an entire magazine devoted to UFOs and this community. And the guy listened to me for a few minutes and he said, okay, yeah, great. Can you just tell me what you saw that day? Because I'm on a deadline.
Oh, no.
And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. So, which
I
they've got editors and deadlines that they have to meet. But my what I appreciate is when I'm able to talk about, my initial sort of agreeing to go on TV and do these interviews was, as a military officer, I felt a duty and an obligation to respond if there were curious citizens, taxpayers. I was in a government aircraft when it happened, and the incident was never classified. So if you as a citizen have a question and I can answer it, I do feel an obligation to respond. But then also for other aircrew, I want to reduce the stigma. I want them to feel comfortable and that they won't be criticized or have their clearance taken away, go through a psych eval.
Are you finding now, ever since that you came out, not publicly, but personally, we don't need any names, but personally, people have come to you and said, hey, I've had similar situations. I've seen things, I didn't want to say anything. Are you getting that now in the background?
I can confirm that. The Office of Naval Intelligence and the Pentagon. So my last trip to the Pentagon was in May, just before I moved, and I went in and I met with a few folks there, some high ranking, and they said thank you. They said thanks for doing, because I had reached out before, and before going on 60 Minutes and just saying, hey, Dave and I, Dave and I are going to do this, and do you have any guidance or advice or just staying in touch. And so they said, oh, yeah, no problem. Obviously, don't say anything about classified systems on the aircraft, but other than that, no issues. But if you have time, come on in. So I came in and they said directly, thanks for doing this, because it's going to create some personal, I don't know if they use the term hardship, but they realized the
They knew what you were doing. They knew the sword you're falling on, and they're like, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
They appreciate it. Because it does take guts, and with the stigma, absolutely.
They confirmed that other aircrew who had seen things since had not hesitated to report and come forward and go on record. So I thought that was fun. And so in addition to reducing that stigma, I also hope that not just for military aircrew, but for anyone who's out, who's I think there were some cruise ship folks who saw things, or if they're out on a fishing expedition, commercial pilots, that we might have some standardization, so some checklists and some,
commonalities.
Yeah, so that you would know them before you go out on your mission or your flight or your boat trip, and then if and when you do see something, that you'll be ready and that you'll go down those immediate action procedures to take footage or get another set of eyes in the area, to mark the locations, to note all of those things that, again, these great technical questions that people are asking me now that I wish I had been thinking about before I was sort of jumped by this thing. So
no, that was great. And what you were saying before, like, isn't it, and thank you for helping so much with the stigma and lifting that. I keep hearing the audio is a little weird. Can you guys hear that as well?
Just a little.
Oh,
just a little.
Good.
Just
No, that's perfect. That's fixed.
They're fixed.
Kinda, but whatever. We're rolling with it. A stigma. What it would be amazing if all these people who saw incidents came together and then saw commonalities and patterns and kind of put a checklist together. Imagine that was public. Everyone can be like, okay, yep, I know what that is and what that's gonna do. That would be interesting. Never, but that would be fun.
So I've got a couple questions now that we're hanging out. We kind of broke the ice, and my biggest question for you is, like, I'm just really visual. So, like, for you, like, what did it look like? I'm just weird like that. Like, I just want to know, what did it look like? Like, what was your tangible experience? However it felt, like, what was that like that moment of seeing this, the thing that we're all talking about.
Yeah, it was weird. It didn't look like an aircraft. It didn't look like anything that we had seen or were trained to see. We do a lot of study of, we call it recce, so that we can recognize or do reconnaissance and see when we come to emerge, we're out scouting things. We want to be able to recognize adversary aircraft. So we're used to looking at things in the sky and looking at things, from a distance, and as they get closer, and calling out a tally and saying that's a MiG or that's an SU, whatever, and this wasn't an aircraft. It didn't have any wings. It didn't have any flight control surfaces. It was just smooth. And the shape, it was like a Tic Tac. That's, we use that term or that, that analogy because it was oblong. It was obviously much bigger. It was 40 or 50 feet long, but it didn't have all of any other features. No windows, no doors or hatches or anything.
Wild. Yeah. That's wild. And the movements were just like it's wild. Like, that's just wild.
Yeah. So without having any flight control surfaces, and then also we didn't see any smoke trail, or we didn't see any sort of propulsion. Normally you would see an exhaust plume, or you'd see, if we were looking at a surface to air missile or subsurface to air missile, you'd see some sort of smoke trail. You'd see something that can help you. And again, we sort of talk about this in our training and use it for visual cues for our own defensive maneuvers, and this didn't have anything that we would recognize or be able to respond to.
And did you see what was underneath the water, the white cap at all?
Yeah, that's how I picked up a tally. I think that if I hadn't seen the disturbance in the water, that I would not have been able to pick up the Tic Tac. But it flew for me right over that churning, sort of roiling white water area. And then I was watching the Tic Tac, and then watching my lead, of course, Dave Fravor, as the -2 or the wingman. You know, it's my job to keep sight of him, to not hit him, and so between keeping a track of the Tic Tac and him, when I look back down to the water to see, once I lost sight of the Tic Tac, once it disappeared, I thought, well, let me check out the water again and see. And it was just calm, just black water.
Yeah. I know everybody always wants to go down into the technical, you know, what it'll look like, what it do. I'm very curious, and I keep hearing that typing again, Mimi. What I'm curious is, Dietrich was, or Fravor was out talking to people about this incident. He was on, I believe, Joe Rogan talking about this, and this was before you came out. Did you watch any of his interviews and the stuff that he was saying, and seeing what he was talking about out at all? And were you kind of like, hey, buddy, what are you doing? Just like, keep it down. How was that for you? Because that must have been long, because it took you a bit to come out.
So I knew that he was sort of out talking, taking interviews, in part because he gave me a heads up. We have maintained friendship. What's interesting is that for years we'd maintained contact and we hadn't talked about this until I think it was the New York Times maybe did an article, and so he gave me a heads up. And then that's when I started getting contacted by, I don't know, maybe once every few months, a reporter or somebody who, you know, wanted to talk to me about it, and I would talk to them off the record or on background. And I had 3 children, kind of back to back, so I was always pregnant or nursing.
Fun.
I get very shy, so not interested in doing publicity, but then also sort of physically not really interested in being on camera.
Chris, listen, I have a cramp and it's like, day's done. Like, the world's over. No, thank you. No, completely understand that. How did the reporters know who you were, though?
They just stalked me. Yeah, they just did the Google stalking and figured it out. I really don't know. There was a kind of a creepy video that came out a few years ago now, and it's like this guy who just kind of, I say creepy because it's like him filming a computer screen with my work, I'm in uniform. It's my headshot in my uniform, and the camera's sort of shaky, and he's like, "This is Alex Dietrich, and she was the one." And
trying to figure it out. Yeah, that's not how you break news.
It was like
that's that's how you break into handcuffs. Holy moly.
Yeah.
So Kelly, my girl, gosh, I love you. Some people are saying if you jump in and jump out, maybe the sound will go away. I don't know.
You want me to jump out?
No, never. No, Alex, you stay here. Kelly, if you just want to jump in and out, we'll and then come back in a second. But Alex, I mean, goodness gracious, I can't even imagine what kind of energy that you've been having to process. You know what I mean? With all these interviews and all these people. What exactly is that like for you?
It's weird. Like I said, this is not, it's not something that I identify with. It's not something that I think about unless somebody else brings it up. Even my sort of, let me check UFO Twitter today, or let me post a cloud today, and sort of scroll through and see how folks are doing. When it gets into the technical talk, or it gets into some other hypotheses, and I just sort of, my eyes glaze over and I just keep scrolling. I'm just not that interested in it. Just doesn't scratch that part of my brain. But then I see, you know, the cool art, or I see, you know, something like you say, "No, I'm a guest." You know, I need a guest. You know, and I think, oh, there's something. You know, so so it really hasn't. It's just been kind of a distraction. The calls, the reporters. I think it was the Germans. They were like, we're coming to your area. Can we come to your house? And I was like, well, no, because actually I'm not in a house yet. I'm actually in a hotel. This is the hotel lobby until our house is ready. But I was like, you can meet me at the dog park. And
wait, the Germans? The Germans?
Yeah, I think it was like German public television, or I did one with the Dutch and one with the.
That's so funny. It reminds me of the Big Lebowski when he was like, I need the nihilist, you know, like, but yeah,
but I'm
like, sure.
I was like, I'm really busy, but I'm planning to take my dogs to the dog park for a little while this morning. You can meet me there. And they were like, okay. And they did. And I think they were happy with it eventually, but you could tell when they got there, they were like, what are we doing in a dog park talking to this lady about UFOs? And all the other dog park people were like, what is happening right now? So
that is so awesome. That is so awesome.
And the I think it was the British, the BBC sent someone, and I said, there's a park nearby, meet me there at 6:00. And so we met outside, and right next to the park there's a frisbee golf course. And I could tell that the reporter, or the on camera person, was a little annoyed. I felt like she was a little, that this assignment, she was like, why do I have to be the one that goes to America to talk to the UFO crazy people? And so by the end of the interview, I think she realized that I wasn't crazy and really wasn't that much into UFOs. But this guy was walking behind from the frisbee golf course, and it was at the end. They had cut the camera. And so I shouted out to the guy, I said, hey, have you ever seen a UFO? And the guy stopped and he goes, oh, yeah, I have. And he came over and he just started talking. And so the camera crew and everybody was like, what's happening? And because part of the story that I told them was that I think it's really interesting, of all of these people who are DMing me or reaching out directly to share their encounters or their stories. And they say, I saw you on 60 Minutes, or I saw you on something, and you don't seem crazy. And I don't think I'm crazy, but I saw this thing last year or 10 years ago, and I've never told anybody because, I don't want my family to think I'm crazy, or I have a job or have a position in my church or my community, and I just don't want to be that kooky UFO person. And so that it's been really fascinating to hear people's story and have them just sort of reach out and want me to hold their stories with them, like it's a burden they've been carrying. And so this guy shared, and then he gave her one of his frisbees from the frisbee golf course. And I said, oh, look, here, you came all the way to do an interview about UFOs and you got your own flying saucer. I think
that's so great.
Sort of had a little change of heart in that moment. So
I think that's why people relate to you so much for so many different reasons, is because I had my own experience in 2013, and I saw something. I live near an Air Force base, and I'm very open. I am kooky. I am weird. It is who I am. And so I was born this way. I walk down the street like I am. So I woke up the next day and I was like, I saw something crazy in the sky. And no one believed me. Like, I was floored. I was like, how can no one believe me? And this was 2013. And then the New York Times article came out, right? And all this stuff happened after it. And the next thing, we've got footage of weird stuff coming out of the water. And like, it's only confirmed to me that like, it's okay. Like, what you saw, you know, who knows what it could have been, but there's stuff buzzing around. We don't know what's going on, however you want to put it. But we've got some people on the gray room. I'm really excited to bring in Luis Jimenez. He is the forefront pioneer of the Big Phone Home, which surprisingly, Alex, is happening right now. And so we're all pushing for UFO disclosure. We're calling our senators. We're calling our congressmen. Luis has talked to everybody, so let me just bring him in. Here's Luis Jimenez. Good to see you, Luis. How are you?
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hello.
Doing good.
I got you on. Hold on. I got you on speaker. I don't want to. I'm here. I'm coming as the guy with the speaker on, listening to the show. Sorry about that.
How you doing? How's the Big Phone Home?
I'm doing great. We literally just wrapped up day 2. It was an unbelievable day. We had a whole bunch of scientists and scholars from the SCU. We had some military members, Gary Voorhees, who was part of the Nimitz encounter. It was great. I mean, we had some wonderful debates, some wonderful discourse. We had a tense moment here or there, you know, because you know how people get when they talk about this stuff. But I just wanted to come in, say congratulations. This is a wonderful interview. I've only caught for like about 10 or 15 minutes. Wanted to say thank you to Alex Dietrich for her service and all the wonderful wisdom that she shares on her Twitter all the time. And you know, she's always liking my stuff. So I always appreciate the support, my lady, truly.
Thank you. It's good to connect.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's wonderful to connect. And please come by anytime you want. Doors wide open for you. And because of you, just so you know, you inspired us to make sure that we had a donation button for the refugees of Afghanistan because of the words that you had shared on Twitter. So just you inspire people. And I know this is not like something you identify with, and I totally understand that, but we love that you're here, and we love that you added such a wonderful layer to the story, and your conversation with Mick West was literally a blueprint on how to deal with Mick West. It was so much fun to watch. So yeah, I'm just gonna say that I'm gonna leave you ladies to it. I don't want to take any part of this that doesn't belong to me, because Amy, this is such a wonderful get for you and for your channel. I'm so happy for you. So bless you all. Have a wonderful night. And yeah, doors wide open for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
We love you, Luis. Thank you. Bye. Oh my gosh. So now we have Luis Jimenez, who is hanging out with us. Yeah, so he's doing the Big Phone Home. So everybody out there in the chat, make sure that you call Congress and your state representatives about how you want UAP disclosure. Alex, are you familiar with kind of like our Big Phone Home thing?
I think I retweeted something about it today. Just trying to move someplace where I'm not in the dark.
Oh yeah, totally. However it works,
Yeah, I think I retweeted something where there was a link to sign a petition.
Yeah, definitely. And it was that petition to make sure that we had more people, pushing for this in Congress, because it's the people want to know. That's why I'm so lucky to be here with you, Alex. I can't tell you what I crave is the people who have seen it. The firsthand accounts. Like in my little brain, I process stuff through like, okay, Alex saw this. Like, what was that like for her? And just the amount of like how much you have to like come out and talk about it and get people to kind of just understand it. And I think that's what people really relate to when they see you, Alex, is that you're like normal. You're like a normal, really cool chick in like a lot of good ways. Like, but what I mean is like, you're respectable and you've served our country and you've done a lot of amazing things for society. And you're you're like a hero for society. And when people like you come out and they say that they've seen something, especially I mean, I know you already know under the confines of how you viewed it and like what you saw. I think it's really, really hard to do that. Because like I said, being someone like myself who only saw like something in the sky near an Air Force base, like I believe in me, but like, the things that you've done, it's going to be in the history books. And that's what I love about this time with like hashtag UFO Twitter, this stuff. It's going to be, I mean, so we had some great questions that kind of came up, like, easy kind of sort of questions that aren't too intense. And I think never mind, it seems like no one's asking questions anymore, which is fine, because you guys in the chat, you guys always have such like hardball questions. You guys like tweet and filter and make it even more intense. But I mean, so like what made you realize what you were looking at was unconventional from most of the international military you've seen?
So, well, and I think I've told this kind of how the events unfolded, but I'll back up to when we launched. We were going out on a routine training exercise. So we thought we were going to go out off the coast of San Diego into this predetermined working area to a cap point, the CAP, which I think is getting a lot of attention. There's a lot of churn around the cap point. But we pre-brief these coordinates, and then we say, okay, we're going to launch, and we launch in different order, and we have to take care of our administrative checks and all that. And then we rendezvous out at this cap point. So we had launched, and we were heading in that direction when we got redirected. That's when we got the vectors from the Princeton to go check out this other contact that they were picking up on their radar. And we argued with them a little bit. We said, we're supposed to be going over here. And they said, no, we want you to go over here. And we said, no, we briefed, we're supposed to go over here. Because pilots are very, we go by checklists. We have a lot of protocols. We want to make sure we're following the rules. We don't like to get flight violated. we want to make sure we're doing everything right from a mechanical perspective to a procedural perspective. And we're creatures of habit. So this gets into why we didn't have our tapes on and it was up to the flight behind us to get their video, is because we were in this administrative phase when we got interrupted to go and vector towards this real world contact. And so of the flight, there were 2 aircraft, 4 air crew. So Dave Fravor and I were the pilots. Dave Fravor was the most senior pilot in our squadron and probably in the entire air wing. So he had transitioned from Tomcats, now flying the Super Hornet, just very senior in terms of experience, and also very, had thousands of hours of expertise from a technical perspective. And so he had, he was just sort of like this evolved human compared to where I was just out of flight school. I just graduated out of flight school in July and joined the squadron. So was it August, September, October, 4 months that I was in this fleet squadron. I was just trying to take off and land safely, let alone learn all of the tactics and everything. And here we were in this sort of real world scenario. So I was just hanging on and like, hey guys, what's happening? So my Wizzo in the back seat, I said, what's going on? And he said, it might be drug runners coming up the coast with something from Mexico or points further south. And I thought, oh, okay, let's go get them. But we didn't have any ordnance on board. So even if we had managed to get them or get to them, I don't know what we would have done besides, do a close escort, try to nudge them in one way or another. So when we had the merge plot, when the Princeton was calling that the radar contact that they were seeing was in the same piece of sky that we were in, and we're looking outside for tallies, and there's these 4 people in these 2 aircraft, and each aircraft has 2 radios. And so we will have them dialed into the same frequencies, but that means that there's a conversation on the top radio that's usually going up and out, so to the air traffic controllers and folks in the space, and then a channel that's the tactical frequency between the aircraft, and then you have the inter-cockpit communication. So that's 4 different conversations happening between 4 people plus the other folks in the airspace and the air traffic control. So it's a lot of people on a lot of frequencies having a lot of conversation. And when things got crazy, I mean, there were expletives and, you know, where'd it go? Where'd what go? What is that? We're all just shouting on top of each other. So I know that there's questions about the timeline and how long was his tally versus how long was my tally, and how long did our Wizzos have tallies. And it's hard to say for me, again, because of my perspective in the position of the flight, and then also my experience level. But when I did see the churning water, my heart sank. So you had asked about like my emotions or what I thought in it. So I went from being excited to go get bad guys to then being really, like, my heart sank. I thought, oh my God, now we're on scene commanders for search and rescue, and whatever we were chasing is crashed and sunk. And then the Tic Tac crossed over the churning white water, and I was like, what is that? So, you know, excitement, sadness, followed by shock, followed by awe of how it was moving, followed by frustration that we couldn't keep sight of it longer and it disappeared and we couldn't follow it. And then when we got back to the ship and debriefed and tried to classify it, tried to say, well, what could it have been? What could have been in the water? What could have the Tic Tac been doing out there? And we thought, well, maybe it was a submarine, and maybe it launched some cool new super secret missile that doesn't have a smoke trail or doesn't have, you know, anything that we would, fins or things that we would recognize. And then we were pissed. We were like, if that's the case, we were vectored into a blue on blue scenario. But then we were reassured that it wasn't, that there were no blue tests or exercises like that in the area. So then it was, again, like, well, then what was it? Confusion. So it was definitely an emotional roller coaster. But then, honestly, after a couple of days, you know, we got ridiculed by our squadron mates and other people on the ship, and that was all in good fun. But then after a few days, it died down, and you know, we got ready for our deployment, and we went to the Middle East, and life went on. So.
Okay, so what's interesting to me is, did you, like, because I've heard a lot of people say that they've seen other things on the Nimitz, on the SS Nimitz. And so it kind of appears sometimes that this was like a long-term sort of experience. You know, you watch Unidentified with Lou Elizondo and you see how long this experience goes. I feel like people, when they watch, you know, like a TV show, they take it in and they don't necessarily, I don't know. So from your personal perspective, how long had these experiences been going on the SS Nimitz? And did you experience it more than just the one time you did?
Yeah, so November 14, 2004 was the only time that I saw something weird off the USS Nimitz doing, and it, in my entire, you know, career, that was the only weird thing that I had seen. And I hadn't heard of other incidents before or after us. Again, I don't really follow it. It's not something that I would bring up at the O Club or anything like that. So I wasn't really looking to find trends. I felt that we had done our debrief and we turned it over to the intelligence professionals, and that they would do the analysis and any follow-up. So I can't speak to any other incidents.
Yeah, no, I never expected you, you've got your own thing going on. And I honestly feel like, You were very concise and specific about what you said in the interview on 60 Minutes and the time that you had with Anderson Cooper. I think that you picked your words very wisely and you said what was, what was needed to be said. So like, I'm a dork. Like, obviously you saw the beginning. I'm an alien nerd. So, just to kind of like lighten the mood, everybody in the chat is a fan and they've probably watched 20 of your interviews, if not more. That's what us dorks on hashtag UFO Twitter do, you guys. And so like when I'm able to get people on the show, I kind of just like to talk about silly things sometimes. And like what's interesting is like through your experience and everything, that you've been through, because our preference of things change over time. And like for you, like what is your favorite sci-fi movie? Like what's a sci-fi movie that you're like, yes, that explains it all? You're not a sci-fi girl. If you're not a sci-fi girl, it's all good.
I'm not. I'm
that's even better.
My husband would. I don't read fiction and I don't watch fiction.
Awesome.
And I'm just like a documentary, and I always have been. I've just loved like documentaries and nonfiction, and I'm trying to think of any so my husband likes sci-fi. He has a whole section of books on our shelves that's like Heinlein and
it's girls' night. Just tell me your favorite movie. Alex, what's your favorite movie? That's why girls come on this channel. We are, there's a lot of different, honestly, I have my sci-fis and then I have Titanic. So, what's your favorite movie? It doesn't have to be sci-fi. Like I said, everybody in this chat knows who you are. They follow you on Twitter, most likely. And we've seen, and I really love that. And, every once in a while, it's good to kind of just get to know people a little bit more than what they see, especially on the mainstream media, in my own personal opinion.
Yeah. So I guess it'd have to be like a comedy. So, those, I will have fictional plots, but they're so absurd that, so I would have to say, like, I don't know. Elf is what I watched recently.
I love that movie.
A lot. Zoolander. I don't know. Like, I'm a big Tina Fey fan.
Just laughing, right?
Yeah. Like, I've a 20-year military career and 3 kids and and a lot of life in between. And so life is hard. And if you can't find moments of joy and time to laugh, what's the point?
I agree completely. And it's so funny that you say that. One of my besties, like I call them like my 3D friends who like actually know in my real life, this is kind of my Batman persona, so my 5D friends know my alien self. But one of my friends who I know, she's actually she was in the military for about 30 years and she jumped on, and there's a lot to learn about just being positive and having fun and enjoying life. So that's super cool. So you're a comedy girl. I'm not shocked. I'm a comedy girl as well.
Here's one. Is this sci-fi? Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's sci-fi.
Yeah, I saw that on, I don't know. I was at the dealership getting my car fixed recently. It was playing and I was like, that's a good movie. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Back to the Future, man. That's a crazy flick. Yeah. That's one of those that, makes you rethink things. I love watching movies where they travel in the future and then you're like actually in 2021 and Michael J. Fox is supposed to be here and the technology's all like way jacked up from what it actually is today. Like it's way better than what even they could have predicted.
Yeah.
It's super funny. So we have a lot of questions about consciousness. Okay. I mean, I know this is weird, but like, you're kind of on the woo-woo channel. Like everyone's kind of shocked you're here. Like, how is she on Alien Girl? Alien Girl's whack. But because we talk about consciousness, we talk about things, we talk about a little bit of the fringe. So like, it's going to sound kind of weird, But some people wanted to know, oh gosh, I just feel weird asking this, but I'm just going to do it because, okay, thank you, Alex. You are my girl. We're going to go hang out. We're going to like climb a mountain together and stuff. And you're going to say, bring it. And I'm going to ask you this question. Yes, we're going to go 3D. Don't even go 3D, Alex. It's the worst. Meeting YouTubers in person. It's like such a trip, man. Oh my gosh, I've met a couple. Anyway, so so what we're going to say here is a lot of people are wondering if you had a telepathic conscious experience with the Tic Tac. I mean, I think I kind of know you're like a rational, logical person, but like personally, from your perspective, did you encounter any alteration? No, that's not the right way. Any connection with this craft that went beyond what you traditionally take on when you're connecting with craft, when you were doing your military service?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I figured they're asking. I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, no, and people have asked so many interesting questions about it. And actually, Lou Elizondo was one of the ones who first asked one of the most interesting questions, where I was saying, you know, I either had to classify it as friend or foe, right? It either had to be a blue system, a US system that we were vectored into some test range accidentally, or it had to be some sort of adversary spying on us with this drone thing and, you know, in the middle of this military exercise. And Lou said something along the lines of, well, could it have been like curious, or could it have been, did it approach you in a curious way? And just the way I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but it was the first time that I stopped and I went, huh, like, I don't know, maybe. You know, nobody was injured, nobody was harmed. And so it could have been something just checking us out. Not in a sort of spying way, but
it didn't hurt you though.
It didn't hurt us. You know, we don't have any radiation issues. I just went through my whole separation physical from the military when I retired, and the whole VA. You know, I've got things, but it's nothing that would be related. I had polyps. I had a colonoscopy. So unless the Tic Tac gave me some polyps, you know, I don't think you should do it. I think 45 is the recommended age. I just turned 42, but I took advantage and got the screen. I got my mammogram too.
Yeah, taking care of the body.
Yeah. But
yeah,
so,
totally.
All that is to say that I don't think any other guys who were involved had any ill effects, and so, but I'm trying to explain that, you know, my bias or my sort of framework the paradigm that I was operating under was a military strike fighter pilot. Something has to either be friend or foe, and it has to make sense in some way. And so, there could have been some sort of attempt to communicate that I just wasn't open to, or.
What do you think about? I mean, do you know what CE5 is?
No. What is that?
It's this thing that some people do, and basically it's like deep meditation, trying to connect with ET, and some people have produced photos. I mean, I don't know. This sounds out of this realm because there's like different realms, you know, in what's going on right now. And so we're just talking about consciousness, but I think what I'm most interested in is like, how much time did you get with the Tic Tac? Like, what was that? Just I know that there's been film that's like 26 minutes long. Apparently we haven't seen it. You know, we only get that 2 minutes or that 1 minute. I don't know the specific amount of time, but for you, how long were you encountering this craft? And yeah.
So I estimate my visual was only about 10 seconds from when I first picked up going over that white water to when I lost sight, when it disappeared. Dave Fravor estimates a few minutes. So how long was it in the vicinity, and how close would be close enough to make some sort of, what did you call it? Sorry.
contact CE5. CE5's
Yeah,
totally different. It's totally different. It's like us hippies in the woods. Like, please come to us so we can have like a UFO to put on our YouTube channel. You know what I mean? Like it's no, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd put it in. I mean, I love all you guys, 100 in the chat, but like, you know, it's kind of like we all hang out. We go peace, love, and light, and we all hold hands and be like, we're going to contact the aliens. And, you know, we do some consciousness work and, like, you know, things show up in the sky and pictures are taken. I think that's the best way to describe it. And so I think that's why people are asking about the consciousness associated with, like, what you felt in the moment, because the Tic Tac incident is the incident of the era. Just as we look back and we look at, like, you know, the Battle of Los Angeles, when the footage and everything that we saw, like, it was like you know, these photos that you could see of people putting spotlights on some craft that they didn't understand. Maybe it was German craft, like, who knows? But the point is, you know, you saw the Tic Tac, and that makes you cooler than everyone on hashtag UFO Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say a couple of things, and there's a little bit of noise for a second here. We gotta get some ice in the bar. No, you're good. You're good. Somebody needs that.
Everybody needs a little ice. Everybody needs a little ice. Dude, I get it. We are going to stop this train. We need a cocktail right now. Serve it up. Life is hard. Life is hard. Like you're saying, like, let's just watch comedies. You know, I think a lot of people have there's a lot of UFO shows out there that are so serious. And like, I just wanted to start something that's fun and fresh and easy, because it doesn't have to be super serious. Like, I mean, Alex, I don't know, you know, your perspective about, you know, the extraterrestrial presence, but mine's pretty apparent to all of my viewers, which is like, I think they're here. I think they're among us, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, and so for me, it's just, you know, it's monumental to be able just to sit back and casually talk about this topic, because the problem is that people aren't really talking about it enough. Like, you're a respectable person who served our country in America, and you talk about it, and you're strong, and, you know, you speak your truth. And it's just absolutely amazing, the kind of bravery that you've given the community. And personally, I relate to you in a lot of different ways. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm trying to keep my life together. Just like everybody else out there in the world. And so when you come forward and you say, like, what you saw, especially for me, like, as a woman, you know, it's oh my gosh, like, you just inspired me, and like so many other people. It's absolutely insane.
Amy, you sounded a little hesitant to bring up some of the terms or ideas that you were talking about, and I would say don't. You know, this is your area of expertise, or your area of interest, and so you know, don't be embarrassed or ashamed of it. And so I'm here, and I'm curious, and I'm interested, and I want to learn more. And I'll tell you that I don't personally have interest in science fiction. Like, it's not something that I would choose to do in my off time or for pleasure. But I have a family legacy. And my uncle, Dr. Thomas Starzl, he did the first human organ transplants. And the reason that this makes a connection for me is because when he started his research in the 50s, right after World War II, you know, he came out, he had the GI Bill, and went to work in the lab. And that was science fiction at the time. When he said, I think I can put this person's heart into this person's body, people were like, fuck you. That's impossible. That's science fiction. And that's like a Frankenstein idea. And like, you have a God complex, right? There were just so many people who were like, that's nuts. And he persisted. He was like, no, I think this is possible, and I'm going to prove it. And he did, and he dedicated his life to it. And I don't know about you, but last time I went to the DMV, you know, it's a question right there. Do you want to be an organ donor? Yes or no? And you probably don't understand. I don't understand really the technique, how the surgical techniques and the immunosuppressive drugs that make it all possible. But we both accept that it's a thing that's totally normal now. People get hearts, lungs, livers, kidneys all the time. And so I think about that a lot, not only because he was a big influence in my life and our family, but because I identify, like, that's part of our family values, is to be curious and to say, just because I don't understand something doesn't mean it can't exist, and that we can't go in search of the answers or the solutions to make it possible if we're methodical and systematic and we support each other. And so he needed a huge network of support, obviously funding, but also other scientists and doctors and support. He tells a story about the first surgeries were literally days long. I mean, we were talking like 24, 36 hours on your feet over the bodies. And they were doing the breathing by hand. And these other poor, anesthesiologists and all of the folks supporting them were just passing out from physical exhaustion. And Dr. Starzl was like, you better figure that shit out, because we're continuing with this. And so that's how they came up with things like the automated breathing machines and the automated blood pumpers and the automated things that we all take for granted now if we go in for a surgery that's not even an organ transplant. But it was just, it was this example of people coming together and saying, like, we've never, pacemakers, that was another thing that came out of this, was the pacemakers to keep the hearts going. So all of this second and third order effects, but just because one person said, like, let's use our imaginations and let's do something that sounds a little crazy.
Oh my gosh. And this is exactly why I ask people what their favorite sci-fi movie is when they come on my channel. I know you're not a sci-fi girl. You like comedy, and it's totally cool. But
there's a documentary about his life.
What's the documentary?
It's called The Burden of Genius. You can see.
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. The whole Tom Starzl story, Burden of Genius.
Burden of Genius. I'm going to watch it tonight. That's exactly what I'm going to do. But what you're saying is like really legit, because I mean, obviously, it's like Alex and Alien Girl, like who's the more legit one? And that's fine. But like what you're saying is so amazing to me, because what we're talking about is tech. And like what you experienced was a technology beyond our understanding. At least it sounds like it, correct?
Yeah.
I
don't know of anything
like it.
Tic Tac.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Tic Tac.
Yeah.
It's nothing like it.
I have no way to explain it. And as far as I know, nobody who I've encountered at the Pentagon or otherwise has had an explanation for it.
And that's reason enough to talk about it.
McWest has a lot
Except
of ideas.
McWest. I love... Oh, Mickey, you're so fun. You're so fun. We blow your mind at Mickey. I love Mickey, man. Yeah, he's my boy. Man, he's my boy. Man, but we gotta have a McWest or 5 around. We need McWests around, because if McWests aren't around, then I'm just gonna be ranting any sort of thing that comes my way. No, I'm just kidding, Alex. But the tech is really what it comes down to. That's fascinating about hearing about just like your family and their involvement with, working on organ transplants, and especially when you get into like actually having to physically help people breathe, because it just takes one person. It just takes one person to come out, right, and say, I saw this, and I'm backed with a lot of evidence, right? One person can change everything. And so, obviously that's definitely the case with, I mean, honestly, like, there's not a lot of chicks talking about it. You know what I mean? And I got started because I was jealous. All the boys were starting their podcasts, Alex. I was like, they all get to talk to everybody. Jeremy Corbell goes on their show. You know what I mean? Like, it was hard for me to actually get some people on. And it's just so fascinating to me because you came out and you were doing your thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do my thing too. And I always tell this to people, like, you might not know it, but the actions that you're emulating out to the world, the things that you do, they influence everyone. Like, every day when we wake up, how we decide to live our life and influence people, it influences other people. And I just want to say thank you for that. You influenced me, deep into the dark night when I was like, should I do this UFO podcast? Where's my life going?
The answer
Grab
is
them.
yes.
Yeah, man, it makes me feel alive, and it makes me feel like excited and passionate. And we have these conversations about how, like, dude, I saw this in the sky and I'm a legit person. Like, I'm a pilot, like, I'm aerial trained, like, I know what's going on. Like, I saw this. And it's just so fascinating for me to hear this from you, because this is something that I get asked a lot. Like, why did you get into it, Amy? And I just had this little experience where I saw, like, a triangular craft roll, like, over my house, something I had never seen before. I see 20 to 30 planes a day because I live in the dragway of, like, an Air Force base, which is normal. And it changed me enough to bring it up to people, enough to talk to people, and just being like shut down everywhere. And, and that's what's so amazing about your stories. We all know you saw what you saw, Alex. I don't think there's anybody, at least, in our community, that doubts it at all. You're definitely the most, like, reputable person, especially with females, to be able to talk about that. Has that been interesting, like, being a female coming out and, like, talking about this, or not really? It's just like, whatever, I'm just a girl and I'm just talking about it.
Yeah, I don't know that it's come up that much. It really hasn't. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm older. I'm 42 now. So maybe I'm out of that age range where people would be like, oh, it's a chick.
Things have changed, man. Things have changed. I'm 35 and it's just different now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I totally get what you're saying, and I never expected it to be kind of that way anyway. But it's just so fascinating to hear everything that's happened with you and everything that's been going on. And I know Kelly has been reviewing the chat, and she's got some good questions, because that's kind of what Kelly's doing. You're reviewing the chat. You're making sure we find some good questions, right, Kelly?
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for having me back. I want to know, and I know, this is just Girls Love Fest. Got a little bit of pink on. We got to represent.
Yeah.
I'm 39 years old. Again, what am I doing? Like, I'm sitting around talking to other women about the phenomenon and other things. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. Another question, just going on with the female vibe, is I see here people are really interested. How many women, number one, how many women were with you in flight school? And number two, what made you want to go into flight school?
So that's a great question. And I did sports in high school and in college, and I was always surrounded by strong women, great coaches. I even had great women who were my professors, role models. I wanted to go and have an adventure. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to have an experience. I was young, and it was all about me and my my selfish, doing, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you're like, it's all about me.
Absolutely.
So I graduated, I commissioned in May of 2001. I went down to flight school because that seemed like the coolest thing to do. And I actually had my first flight, because you go through ground school, you learn navigation and weather and systems and all that. So I actually had my first flight on 9/11 in 2001. And in that day, in that moment, it was an absolute paradigm shift. And I realized it's not about me and my selfish adventure. Like, I took an oath when I joined the Navy. I rose my right hand, and I'm a part of something bigger than myself. And so, and it was pretty sobering for a lot of my peers in that time. We went from, just.
You're a child.
Yeah.
You're a child and this happened. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's another reason why whenever it was like, oh, this is, the Tic Tac incident, I was like, yeah, but it was 2004. We were still in this, 9/11 was very fresh.
Yes.
And we had only, we went into Afghanistan right away that fall, but then we only went into Iraq in March of 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Iraq was still very fresh. And so yeah, the Tic Tac was weird, but like, we debriefed it with intel, and we're like, we got to get serious, because we're about to go to Iraq and Afghanistan and put bombs on target on time. And so, just right now, people are really impatient and sort of can't believe that we would see the Tic Tac and then go on with our lives.
Right.
But if you put it in context, the context was very real. And
you said you were 4 months in. You were 4 months in.
Yeah, at a flight school.
When that experience happened, when you saw that happen. So
right. So from going from college, where I was, on a team of women and had, roommates and just was surrounded by these great women, in flight school and in the initial ground school phase, there were some, I'd say probably 25% women. And then as I got further into the jet pipeline, by the time I got to the advanced training, I was the only woman in the squadron.
Why do you think that is?
There's a lot of reasons. One is the culture. It's a macho, jet jock, cocky fighter pilot culture, and some of it is the attrition. So women get into it and they're like, this sucks. Like, flying's cool, but the culture sucks.
Yeah.
Or the work-life balance sucks. I'm deploying, I'm traveling, the op tempo. I mean, we just got out of Afghanistan. It's 20 years. It's a long time when you're just doing back-to-back deployments and all the workups for it. So if you want to have a family, or if you want to have a life, it's almost impossible. Especially like when I was flying in the squadron, we were stationed in Lemoore, California.
Yeah.
That's not beach and sand, California. That's like the middle of nowhere. Mojave, California. It's like, there's nothing there, which is great for flying. Nobody complains about the jet noise.
Yeah.
But then when you come down out of the sky, you're like, okay, what am I going to do this weekend?
There's nothing to do.
I could drive 5 hours to San Francisco, or 5 hours to LA, or chill out here.
That is very interesting. And you know what? I know a lot of people are like, there's not enough women doing this, and there's not enough women doing that. And it's so it's not the fact of, it's the fact that a lot more people rather have that balance of the family, right? We're the ones who have to birth them. So we'd like a little,
even as I got, I mean, I was glad to do my, in my 20s, do that operational deployments and all that, but because there's no retention, there's no role models. So you don't have any mentors. All of the department heads and the XOs and the COs, the commanding officers of the squadrons, are men. So I'm a junior officer, a young woman in my 20s, and I look up and I'm like, if you can see it, you can be it. and there, I couldn't see it, and I was like, well, I don't.
But I love the fact that on Twitter, I do see people reaching out saying that their daughters are looking up and want to fly. And you're like, you know what? I'll help, or you give positive words of encouragement. And it's so nice to see that. Like, I see it. It does warm my heart. So
Yeah, and I
nice.
think that we're changing. The culture is changing. I mean, the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell was huge. So in 2011, now folks can serve openly, and so that created not just equity for LGBTQ, but also for other minorities and folks who were the token individuals in a squadron or a unit, and who now say, okay, there's a critical mass. I'm not the only person of color, or I'm not the only woman, or I'm not the only gay or lesbian or queer, and it's okay. And there's this next generation from millennials to now Gen Z. So we're past millennials now. Generation Z is coming through the door, and they're like, what's the like, Don't Ask, Don't Tell? What was that? Like,
what was that about, huh?
Yeah. And so they're just not interested in that drama or that intolerance. And so I think that the tides are shifting, and that we will see a lot more diversity, and not just on a social justice case, but like a business case. We're still an all volunteer force. We don't have a draft, right? We don't have compulsory service. And so we rely on volunteers. We rely on people to show up and raise their right hand and volunteer for service. And so we've got to be an attractive employer. We've got to make people feel motivated about the mission, but then also part of the team when they do join.
What made you keep going? Did you feel like you were always on the outside? Was there something internally other than generations before you within your family to say, you know what, no, I like this, I'm gonna keep doing this, even though even though I'm always a little on the out?
Yeah, so I did my fleet squadron tour, and I just did that one operational tour flying, and then I was an aide in the Pentagon, which was cool. It was hard, but it was very cool because I got so much perspective about how the big Navy works. There's 380,000 people who serve all over the world, and so I was working for this admiral who was in charge of all the manpower, training, and education for all these folks. And it was just, talk about like a crash course in organizations and funding and policy and all of that. And then I got drafted, essentially. I had a little more time on my contract from flight school that I owed back, and they said, oh, you have an undergraduate degree in civil engineering. We need you to go back to Afghanistan on the ground and do this reconstruction mission, so these stability operations. So everything that we had gone over and targeted from the air, we had to go back and build roads and bridges and schools and health clinics. And so that's the time that I spent on the ground, and became so close to the Afghan interpreters and folks who I've been trying to work with to try to get their families safe. So the good deal payback for doing that hard tour was to come back and teach. And so
nice.
I just retired from a 20-year military career, but the last 10 years were really chill. I wasn't deploying. It was such a good deal. I was, it's called a permanent military instructor at the Naval Academy. I did 3 years at George Washington University in their ROTC program, and then 7 years at the Naval Academy, and also facilitating a program at GW that whole time too. So I thought that first teaching opportunity, I was like, oh, this will just be a good time to catch my breath. I'm not getting shot at by Taliban, and I'm
right.
Going to go back to school, get a graduate degree, have some kids, but I really liked teaching. Even though I'm an introverted person, I really enjoyed advising. The Naval Academy has this awesome program where you can go out in the summer and fly little Cessnas and Pipers with the aviation candidates, the students who want to fly when they graduate, so that they can get exposed to it and so that we can see if they're cut out for it. So I loved being able to work with the aviation candidates and, just seeing, again, this next generation of students. And I know folks often get, they say, oh, kids these days, and I'm like, no, kids these days, like, we're in good hands.
We are in such good hands.
Yeah.
I work with teenagers. And they all believe in aliens. Like, I don't know where everybody's at, but like their consciousness, like from what the generational thing is like, yeah, it's real. Of course it's real. They're like, why?
But they're also pragmatic. So it's
yes,
they're like, anything's possible, but also like,
show me the beef.
Yeah, like let's be systematic about it. They're critical thinkers, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing to me how much the new generation accepts it. Like, I talked to somebody in their 40s, they're like, yeah, crazy, wacky lady. I talked to somebody in their early 20s, they're like, yeah, of course it's real. And it's a trip. But they had ancient aliens, like their parents, when they were being like bounced on the knee. Like, these are the kids who watched Ancient Aliens growing up, at least if you're like an Ancient Alien, like insane binge watcher, right?
We're all close to our 40s. We were watching Unsolved Mysteries, right? Back in the day when we were growing up, it was that music.
No, of course,
no, I didn't like
we were watching Unsolved Mysteries. Of course we were watching Unsolved Mysteries. And that passion between Scully and Mulder, right? What were Scully and Mulder,
X-Files.
right?
That's X-Files.
I just can't forget the love, okay? Like, they never hook up. That still bugs me to this day. That, like, do they ever hook up? Did I miss that episode? Is there like a hookup? No. Okay, never mind. Anyway, moving on.
I have to ask just one. This is a silly question, but
I feel like there was one episode. But yeah, what's the silly question?
This is such a silly question, but I know you say you're an introvert, and I think a lot of, but you do so many badass things, and it's awesome. But do you ever? This is silly. Do you ever watch Top Gun and just see that walk, and you're like, bitch, that's me. Like, isn't that awesome? Like, that's freaking awesome. I love that. Not once. You're just kind of like, no. Oh,
that's me. I use a lot of the memes now. But in a 2-seat squadron, Top Gun, we don't play it. It's forbidden because there was a spoiler alert. He dies.
Oh,
yeah, the Rio.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, I was so shocked at that. I was just more focused on that one little shot and be like, yeah, that's what I do. But yeah, no, I'll just sit here.
Anyway,
now.
The point being, Kelly, is that Alex is a badass on so many different levels. Am I right? Like, Alex comes in and she saves the day, and Jolly was having some issues, in life, man. I get thrown some curveballs. We all get thrown some curveballs. And you know what? Alex was like, hey, let me help you out. And so, that's just kind of how it is. You know what I mean? And I just can't imagine how badass it feels like as a chick, like kind of what Kelly's saying, like you strap on all the gear, you're surrounded by all these dudes. Look, Alex handles it like a champ. She's like, yeah, that's how it is. Like me, I'd be like, I'm so fucking cool. Like, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm getting in this like airplane. I'm going to fuck this shit up. You know what I mean? Excuse my French. Sorry. I just I feel like the F word is necessary. Yes. I want to hear what is like.
When they give you your flight gear, you get your flight suit, and then you get a G suit. Have you ever seen these?
No.
So it's like kind of like chaps. Okay. So there are these pants that you like zip up and snap around your waist. But when they first issue it to you, and the point of them is that it's called a G suit. There's a little hose that sticks out the side. You plug it into the aircraft, And so there are bladders inside that blow up via the hose when you pull the G. So it's like giving yourself a hug to keep that blood from rushing to those lower extremities to keep you from passing out. So when they issue this gear, they have to fit it to you in your helmet. Everything has these special liners that it fits you like a glove. But there are laces in this G-suit pants thing, and it's just like a corset. And so I remember getting fit in, I don't know when it was, 2002, I guess I would have gotten issued it. And they're, they're sitting there and they're pulling the string, and it's just like watching one of those period pieces where the woman's getting the corset.
Kind of sucked in.
Like, man, we really haven't come very far, have we?
No, we wear Spanx. It's Spanx now. So
Spanx,
yeah. And Spanx it is.
Yeah.
Was it uncomfortable? How long did it take you to get in and out of your uniform, your suit?
Yeah, so you would usually walk, so you'd brief your flight, so you'd all sit around and talk, and it was usually a whiteboard or something where you're talking about what you're going to go do and where you're going to do it. And then you walk to our paraloft, which is like a locker room where you have all your gear hanging on. And I don't know, you probably want to allow 10 or 15 minutes, depending on if it's a day flight or a night flight. Because if you have night vision goggles, you want to calibrate them. You want to check your gear. In a hurry, you could do it in less than 5 minutes. But if you want to do it right, you take 10 minutes or so. And you always got to make sure you pee before you go. Put all your gear on. And then you walk out to the jet. And one of the things, this is one thing that separated me from all the dudes, is that I would go in every other week and gather my gear, and I would take it and wash it. So
they wouldn't wash it?
Guys wouldn't wash their gear. And so you're out in the Gulf, and the flight deck is like 110 degrees. And you're up there, and you have all this gear on, and you're up walking around the aircraft. There's exhaust. I mean, you get in the aircraft, and you were just drenched with soap, like soaked with sweat. And then you take off, and you get up to altitude, and then it's cold, right, up at altitude. And so then you're shivering. And then
all that sweat, it's just lovely. That's
so you're wet and now you're cold. And then if you refuel, if you do aerial refueling, there wasn't a good seal on the basket, and so you get this like
the fumes,
jet fuel fumes in through your intakes, and so then you're like tears and snot running down your face. It is not glamorous. But yeah, you'd come back and then take your gear off, hang it up in the PR shop. And so after a week or two, I was like, I can't stand it. I'm going to take, even though I had a flight suit and t-shirt separating me from the gear, it still
doesn't matter. It's like hockey gear. You smell hockey.
Exactly.
You smell like hockey bags.
No,
don't tell me it's like hockey smell.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. And I'm not going to say his name, but you know who you are. I had a Wizzo who he would go to the gym, work out before our flights. He would work out, not shower, come and then get in his flight gear, and we'd go flying. And I'd be like, dude, that's disgusting. You're so nasty. And he'd be like, what? I'm just going to go sweat anyway. I was like,
doesn't matter anyway.
A clean sweat. You could go take a shower and you could work up a clean sweat.
Think of the cheese.
You know what his call sign was? Cheesy.
What is
cheesy?
No, sorry.
Cheesy.
No, see, I told you that is a cheese factory.
Yeah.
Oh,
gross.
That's awesome. No, that's great. That's like
awesome.
Someone saying, "Why should I brush my teeth? I'm just gonna eat. They're gonna get dirty again." It's like, no, you gotta brush them. You gotta make your bed. You just wash your pits. Don't have a cheese factory. Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah. No, I know. I smelled hockey bags before. I'm Canadian, so I'm up in Canada, eh? And I've smelled my share of hockey bags. That sounds weird.
No, you're in Canada. That's like all the dudes just do hockey all the time, don't they?
A lot of hockey.
I would assume, yeah, in Canada for sure. It's crazy. Yeah, but I mean, it's so cool to talk to a lady friend who's done this. Like, I really, I know we're talking about the Tic Tac, but on another level, like, I don't even think I've ever talked to a lady in my whole life who's piloted military craft and wore the G-force suits. Like, I'm serious. Like, just walking down the street, like, or just meeting people throughout life. I've never met another chick who did that. Like, that's so cool.
Okay.
Have you ever like jumped out of a plane or anything? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I have friends who do, what is it, airborne? I don't know if that ever was part of your training.
Yeah. So in our training, they take us up in a, like a, what's it called? Parasailing. We call it hillbilly parasailing because it was behind a pickup truck in a field.
No.
And we just had to run until the chute filled up, and then we got airborne, and it was just to give us a sense of how to steer. And then this truck would stop, and we'd lose our air, and then you just tumble to the ground. And so we were supposed to do, it's called a PLF, parachute landing fall, which
You just gave me a great idea of what I'm going to do next weekend, but I digress. Keep going.
Yeah. So they teach you the technique, right? They're like, you have to land like this and then roll so you don't get hurt, break your leg or anything. But basically, like, the truck stops and you just eat it in the grass. It's not pretty. And then they sign your qual. They're like, okay, you're good. You can go fly. So
you ate it and they're like, nah, she'll get it next time, I swear.
yeah. They're like, it's fine. Dust yourself off.
So they got a great question. Marco Diaz has a great question. He says, aside from the smell, is it hard to be a fighter pilot?
Is it hard to get to be a fighter pilot?
Is it hard to get to be a fighter pilot? Is it hard to become a fighter pilot?
Yeah. So you have to graduate from college either through the Naval Academy and ROTC program, or if you can just graduate and go through OCS, Officer Candidate School. And then you take, it's called the ASTB, Aviation Selection Testing Battery. It's an exam that's kind of like the SAT plus a joystick. So now it's computer based. When I took it, it was like a Scantron form. And then based off your scores from that and your GPA in college, you have to take technical courses, so physics and calc and things like that. Then there's a service assignment every year. So they say, these are all the people who want to be pilots, and this is everybody who's qualified, and then these are the slots we have available, and then everybody shakes out in this particular order of merit. And then you also have to be physically qualified. So you go and, I think the number one thing people know is that you have to have 20/20 eyesight.
Did not know
but
that.
then there's also other, they give you a cardiogram, they give you blood work, they measure you. So, what is your shoulder to fingertip and your butt to knee and your knee to heel? Are you going to fit in the cockpits that we have? And some people don't. They're either too tall or too short, or their arms don't reach out to flip the switches.
I never even thought about that, because it's not like they're building it and you have a whole adjustable seat and everything comes into you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have to be medically and physically qualified, and you have to pass this test, and then you also have to have, an undergraduate degree with. There's no minimum GPA, but in order to be competitive for the program.
So, do they fill up? Because that seems like such a small pool of specific people that can be a fighter pilot.
It is competitive. So every year there's a selection process where while I was at the Naval Academy, this is part of what I did was recruiting folks, trying to get them interested in applying in the first place. But then once they applied, putting together these rosters and these selection boards where we'd say, okay, this is everybody who's eligible, and now let's rank them in order and make sure that we have a right fit of people who want to be part of the community and who the community will, they'll serve well and do what we need them to do technically, but then also serve as leaders. So you're not just a pilot, you're also an officer. And so you have to lead the enlisted in the squadron. You have to make sure that you're taking care of the people when it comes to their performance evaluations, their promotions, the day-to-day operations. And so there's a lot to consider when you're doing that selection or screening process.
Okay. I know you've done a lot of badass things, like number one, the Tic Tac, obviously. But now we're getting into like
I'd say that just sort of happened.
Right. Exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about, Alex. Because now we're talking about like Top Gun. We're talking about like you in this sweet like aircraft. Like, so like, what was the coolest thing you ever did that you can talk about? Like just in an aircraft, even if you did like a 360 or whatever while you were flying, like what was the coolest thing about being in those craft?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's clouds. I loved being able to cloud surf, which technically, if you're in U.S. airspace and you're not legally supposed to be flying, like cloud surfing. But hypothetically speaking, if it was a beautiful day and there were some beautiful clouds, and if we're in like our military working areas, we have a lot more discretion. But yeah, being able to surf the clouds. And do you know what I mean when I say cloud surfing? So you have this big, beautiful, just puffy cloud, and you can go up and you can just skim, and do your aerobatics around it and through it. And yeah, there's nothing like it.
That's wild.
That's so
wild. You know what? Everyone dreams of that. Everyone dreams, because you know what they always say: if you could have a superpower, what would your superpower be? Like invisible, read minds, or fly. And more and more, everyone is like, I want to fly. I want to go through those clouds. I've thought about it. I'm going to be 40 next year, and I look up at clouds, and I took a photo this morning, and. Yeah, so I took a photo this morning, and the first thing is I really, really want, to do that. And this is my cloud. You can't really see it, but my cloud from this morning.
Love it.
Yeah, so,
Love it.
And that was wild. And again, I thought of you, and I'm like, oh, look at me taking pictures of clowns at 39, because that's what people do. But, look at us now.
They're beautiful to look at.
They are.
Really, when you think about it, if you think about just the volume of water that's in that cloud is enough to fill a lake.
See,
right?
That's wild.
There's a lake above your head, suspended in midair.
I'm always going to think of that now. I look at it and I'm like, oh, what can I see as shape? But now I'm going to I will forever think of that now. And I know everyone who just heard that will forever think of that now too.
I've never thought of it that way.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so neat. Who's fangirling out?
I know, man. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
So I probably have 10 more minutes before I go.
Yes.
You've already blessed us so much with your time already. Like
yes.
Thank you so much.
We'll let you go.
No. Are there questions in the chat?
You got one more question from a hashtag UFO Twitter girl. She just jumped here into the stream, and then we'll let you go. What's up, Britt? Okay, so Britt, Alex has just give her one question. Go, Britt.
He's muted. You're muted, Britt.
Welcome to the show, by the way. I know this is fast, but go.
Okay, we're all gonna mute.
Oh, wait, guys, everything is just messed up over here right now. Give me just a second.
So Britt's been doing a lot of research on Twitter. She's been working really hard on trying to dig through some documentations, and she's just like a wild, fiery personality, part of our crazy family. Britt, you got a question, girl?
She's really trying. The poor girl. I can see the panic in her eyes.
Everything was just I had the stream up, and then I was in here, and I was hearing feedback from both of the things, and I'm just like, oh Lord. Anyway, hi. How are you doing? How's everybody doing today?
Hi, Britt.
Can you guys hear me? Hold on, things are weird. Hang on, I'm so sorry. I might have to come back.
It's okay, Britt. Just say your question. Anyway, we'll take Britt out. She's just all right. So, it's kind of the fun that we roll with here, but we have had, a lot of fun. I think Britt's having some tech issues, and that's cool, man. It's what it rolls with. I'm going to take Kelly out. We're going to have an after stream party, but we're going to just kind of like go out, man. This is a 2-hour show. We love you all so much in the chat. And I'm just going to do a shout out to everybody and end in about like a couple minutes here, and then just have a fun little after party. Maybe Britt can ask you the question then. All right, video girl.
Bye. Thank you so much.
And Alex, I love you. You're a beautiful soul. You saved me from so much. I know your time is limited, but we'll be hanging out in the after stream party if you want to hang. If not, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it from like my heart so much. So I'm going to put you back into the gray room. So we're going to do that here. Alrighty. All right, guys. Wow, man, what a wild day, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. All right, guys, we're going to start from the beginning here. Let me just start it from the beginning of our songs by First Floor Audio, by the way. If you've not checked out the tracks from First Floor Audio, you need to, you guys, because that's what this whole show was built on. All right, guys. All right. All right, guys. You came to the show. You didn't know what was going to happen, did you? Yeah, for a little bit, you were like, Amy's crazy, as usual. We don't know what she's up to, but you guys, Alex Dietrich hung out with us tonight. It happened. And you looked around and you thought, you know what? This is legit. And we had all sorts of our fun friends here. Thank you so much, Goof On, for swinging by to hang out. Thank you so much, 5D Raver, Mikey, Jesse Peak, Case for Infinity, Mr. DB Cooper, Ethereal Ara. Always good to see you. We have all sorts of fun people in the chat. Obviously, Luis Jimenez from the Unidentified Celebrity Review did show up, and that was so amazing. Ben Shapiro, good to see you. VPXM. Because you know what, you guys? We were broadcasting here live and alive. We were broadcasting here in the middle of the desert. And I don't think you guys saw Alex Dietrich coming, but she came. And oh my gosh, we had the most epic show ever, you guys. We beat 100 watchers tonight, which is phenomenal. I've never had that before. So like, oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. Because one day it's all going to come out and they're going to say that they always knew. And you're going to say, no, I knew because I was listening to Alien Girl 111. Oh my gosh, I love you guys. I love you so much. Offworld Adam, Sneaky Toaster. I cannot tell you how much all of your energy and love and light has brought us to this place. We got 108 likes. Oh my gosh. So screw it. Kelly, I'm bringing you in. We're dancing. Woo! We got Alex. All right, guys. I'm getting a little excited. And we're going to throw in Britt. Britt's going to dance a little bit. We got Alex. Rick. You didn't know what happened.
I did it. Like
yes, it did. Well, Alex.
You were so close.
So close. But it's okay. I know she's got
things. You know what? I have a feeling this will happen again.
Hey, that sounds great. And, I can't wait to be on the show. I've been trying to get on, but, my life has been chaotic in the past couple of weeks, especially with this hurricane coming through, so.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I tweeted today. I was like, life doesn't revolve around UFO podcasts.
I mean, it kind of does.
We're obsessed with it. It kind of does. I know.
But who would have thought, eh? Who would have thought?
Yeah, right.
Where can everybody find you, Britt? Where can we go? Where do we go to get your content?
Lord, I don't even know where to go for my own self. What do you mean? I'm just kidding.
You're in the right place then. I don't even know where to go for myself.
Well, like at Inference, the first E is a 3. I had to think about it for a second, guys. First E is a 3. I'm actually working on a website right now that will list like everything that I'm doing. It's kind of like a link tree, but I've got like other projects going on, like the gimbal simulation, which I really want to plug in right now for anybody who's interested in helping me with the simulation or this other like data entry like thing I'm trying to create for researchers. It's basically like DoD mergers. If anyone's interested in helping me with that, want to volunteer their time, I mean, just hit me up at Inference. The first E is a 3 on Twitter. Just send me a DM. Just because it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Brett, I know a couple motion graphic designers that I will reach out for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Dude, that'd be awesome, Kelly. I appreciate that. I really do, because like we've got the math. I actually want to say like there's been kind of like conflictions with people who are doing the math and putting like it on a graph, right? So what I was thinking about doing with the simulation is actually having it where people can plug in their own numbers and they can go into like a 2D or 3D view and see if it's like matching up with the video or not. You know, that way we can actually see it from like a overview.
Every single angle, you got the whole rotor on. That's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, dispute that. You know,
right, exactly. And so that means like Mick West, for example, he could plug in his numbers if he wanted to.
Test it out.
And then I've got like these other, there's other mathematicians who've plugged in the numbers as well. And what they've noticed is that the gimbal is actually kind of like accelerating and slowing down at weird times, doing stuff that drones or aircraft cannot do, essentially. So the simulation would be really good to have in order to, you know, kind of account for like the math and see if everybody's correct or not. So, you know, I'm trying to get that going.
It was kind of wild, right? That we got Alex on. What do you think about that, Britt? We had Jolly on, and then we got Alex on. It was like this roller coaster. Kelly was there for me. It was like, and Jolly's here, and Jolly's not. Oh my God, what's going on? Alex, we were having so much crazy fun.
I hate that I missed some of it because, like, well, I guess I missed the most of it. I need to rewatch it. I didn't catch anything, guys. It was late for me.
What'd you do?
Oh, you know, real life. That's all it is. But I wish I was here, but I wasn't. And then I had to send out a tweet.
The great thing about this is do it again.
Well, I would be so down. And I'm also having a really hard time hearing
So Amy has been on the forefront of bringing women, powering women together, talking about, you know, this topic. I wouldn't be here without her. I'm no one.
Right.
No, I'm no one. I would not be here at all if it wasn't for Amy. And
everyone's in love with you. They're like, Kelly in the comments, I want to marry her. And I'm like, me too, but no, we can't happen. I wish I could.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, the simple truth is that there's not a lot of women in this field.
Right.
So
no.
But
that's why we have to. That's why we have to. You know, like come together even more.
Oh, I agree.
You know, imagine the power of the women.
Absolutely,
it's very good.
There's only one thing that comes to mind. Is that, you know, the UFO topic itself is so massive, and there's so many different like subsections of the topic, and I've noticed that a lot of us, we're all in our different sections here. And I'm just like, well,
yes.
Do what?
Oh, no, I was just saying yes, completely.
It is
something
just like
I struggle with a lot because I feel like I'm always on the cusp between like woo-woo and like nuts and bolts. And I feel like no one can really understand where I'm at.
But I like that.
I meditate.
I love the in-between.
I do too.
That stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And every single woman that I see that's come on this show, and maybe this is the video producer side of me, but even looking at you, Britt, and looking at you, Amy, and then there's someone there I can't see, but it's like everyone is perfectly typecast for a movie. If anyone wanted to do a movie about UFO Twitter, and all the women I talk to, I'm like, well, we would obviously star our own parts.
I mean, hey, that's true. That's true. And the simple fact is like we all need to come together because every single subsection of the community is all relevant in the grand scheme of things, right? Like it all fits together somehow.
And I don't like how everyone's like, no, that's not right. It's like, no, everybody, get their little pieces,
exactly.
Bring it together. Just like what Alex said, you get all these different personalities, all these different backgrounds, and then we come together and figure out a pattern or something, synchronicity or whatever word I'm trying to put together.
Yeah.
You understand.
Tonight was a synchronous night, and we're about to have a StreamYard party in the gray room. You've all been invited. Sneaky Toaster's already here. So I'm just going to throw everybody back in the gray room before we get back in there.
Okay.
Mama Alien Girl's going to go get herself a little beverage. And you guys come hang out in the chat if you want. We're just chilling. Alex is gone, so can't do that kind of thing. But we love Alex so much. And I'm just going to throw you guys all back in the gray room, and then we're going to chill in a second here. And everybody who is here is welcome to chill with us as well. Because you know what, you guys? It's all going to come out. The bodies, the craft, the documents, and you're gonna say that you always knew. They always knew. And you're gonna say, no, I knew, man. I knew too. I knew as well, because I was listening to Alien Girl 111. I love all of you so much. Thank you so much for subscribing, for liking, for sharing, for all of it. And I will see you guys next week. I got Jess Roji from the Raji Report coming on. Mwah! Love you guys. Bye.